What up, guys? YoungStatic here. In today's episode, I am going to be showing you how to install, courtesy of HMO. Be sure to check them out for all your JDM part needs. I am going to be installing a AP2 cluster. This came from HMO from Burbank, California, and I am going to be installing this in the CRX using CJSwiring nearly plug and play harness. There are 7 wires here that you have to wire yourself, which goes onto the plug that sits on the top of the fuse box. So that one would be this guy, and you'll know it's this guy because it connects to the harness that goes on the dash that goes into the cluster. So these go in here. Then the back of the cluster, you got the 2 green plugs that plugs into the back of the cluster, and then you have this guy which plugs on here. Oh, sorry, wrong one. That one actually goes to the blue plug here, like that, and then the other end of it goes into the fuse box. The white plug goes to the, I think it was the converter box or the speed healer or the Ktuned box or whatever it is. I don't have that right now, but all of this will work without it. This is just to correct the, I think it was the coolant or the speedo and so on and so forth. This is my first S2K install, so hopefully everything goes as planned. So on the CJSwiring instructions, it says on number 4, connect your Ktuned all-in-one converter. It controls the ECU temp, speed signal, and the fuel gauge. So that explains what that box does, and that goes to this white plug here. And I will show you a picture here of what it looks like. On the instruction here, it shows you 3 different type of connection that sits on top of your fuse box. I have the first one, which is the 18-pin connector here, and it says to depin the wire on the connector above the fuse box. And since these wires don't actually have pins that goes on to those pins, I'm just gonna snip it and solder them into the wire with the terminal, so it'd be a permanent. So according to the picture, the 2 spaced section on the connector is on the bottom, and with that 18-pin connector plug, the 2 spaced part is on the bottom. And because this is facing directly at the plug, looking straight at the fuse box, this plug goes in like this, just like the paper. And I am going to be depinning them or cutting them and soldering in the wire this way. So let's get to it. Pin number 1 goes into the top row, 3rd space. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So here I am going to snip it strip it, sorry, I'm using a wire cutter that's not so sharp. On the plug itself here, they're all labeled 1 to 7. So look for number 1 here. Shrink tubing, shrink wrap. Strip this wire. You can use butt connectors, female, male butt connectors. Makes it easier for taking it apart and unconnecting them. Whatever. Twist the wires together. A lot of people don't believe in soldering because they crack over time, but if the wires are twisted together, and even if the solder cracked, the wires are still making connection. And that's one wire. Number 1 into slot 3 on the top row. And now let's do the rest. Now at this point, before you shrink wrap, double check your work and make sure that all the pins are going into correct locations. And if it checks out according to the instructions, then go ahead and proceed to heat the shrink wrap and seal it off. No autofocus on the GoPro, but you get the idea here. So now if I was to plug this harness back into the car, that coaster should work. Actually, let's do it right now. Alright, so I'm just gonna loop this around here. Now you obviously see that I'm doing this without the dashboard since I just redid the whole wiring in this car since the last one fried. I am doing this with the dash off because it's more easier to see everything and makes it a lot easier. So here, this is getting plugged into this blue harness here that goes to the dashboard. One. The other end of it goes to the fuse box. Oh, brand new plug is so hard. Okay. The top part that we soldered is going into the top section of the fuse box up here. Connect the yellow one. And then this goes to the cluster. Put it face down. Face that up. There's a ground on this wire here at the other end of the harness, which I am going to be screwing into the metal. And let's see if this works without this Ktuned Speed Healer converter box. Oh wow. Make sure it's out of gear. Fast line performance shifter. Alright, it works. So now I'm going to wire in the electrical VSS, which is also required to do the S2K cluster swap, and then work my way to making a bezel. Alright, for the S2K cluster swap or DC or EK or anything that requires electrical VSS, you need to grab one from a 92 plus Civic or 94 plus Integra. And if you're B series, keep it B series. If you're single, keep it single, but they both interchange, so it wouldn't matter. But there are 3 wires. Make sure you get the clip with it. There are 3 wires. There's a black, which is ground, a yellow blue, which is power, and then the yellow white is signal. And now on your cluster or ECU or car, you'd have to find where the VSS signal is on your ECU pinout. And for the OBD0 EF, it is on pin 16 on the plug B. So it's the middle plug, pin 16. The color of the wire is yellow red, right there, the very corner, second to last pin on the bottom row, yellow red. Now you would ground one of the wires, run the power to, you can go to the fuse box here, or the fuse box over there, because it has accessories for power when you turn the key on. And then the signal wire you would splice into that harness, so that way you wouldn't have to run a separate harness to the cluster. Instead, it is giving signal to the ECU and to the cluster. So I've already installed the electrical VSS in the transmission, and let me tell you, that shit is a bitch, because the DX EF transmission, cable transmission, has that big old bracket, but managed to make it work. But here you can see the VSS signal wire is spliced into B16 on the B plug, and spliced in meaning I didn't cut the wire and just wired in. I spliced it so that way this section that goes into the harness, the ECU will send signal to the cluster to read vehicle speed. And then I have the power wire going to the fuse box where the alternator sits, or you can put it on the battery, doesn't matter. And then the ground right here is just to the chassis, and we won't know until it works until we get the Ktuned speed converter or the converter box. So alright guys, so after you get all your wiring set up, I just reinstalled the OEM dash harness back onto the dash, so I'll be able to mount the S2K cluster through the CRX bezel. On the cluster itself, there's not really that many mounting points on the clusters to make any type of bracket, so had to take a little bit of imagination to come up with brackets. But I came up with these small little ones right here that I made off scrap metal that I bought from Home Depot, and drilled a couple holes, bent it a certain way so that way the cluster sits straight up. You can see how nice and flat it is. And then bolted it down on both sides, and now that it's nice and sturdy on here, you can technically make more brackets to make it more firmer. But right now this works, and let's get back to installing. Alright, so the CRX is back. It's day after Christmas. The Ktuned dash converter is in. Now we're gonna program it, and on the instruction on the Ktuned package, the instruction says to download the app on the website here, and I'll link it. Can't really see it because GoPro can't autofocus. And dude, that thing is hella small. So that's the app that you have to program the Ktuned converter. You got to plug it into your laptop or desktop, and it has to be window based. You can't use it on like Linux or Mac or anything like that. It has to be window based computer and using the provided USB adapter cable. So now we're gonna program the converter. So it's pretty straightforward on the app. It just says Ktuned all-in-one converter. You select what cluster you have, the AP1 or the AP2, and then you have to, what else was it? Gear driven.
It's either magnetic or gear driven.
Use
speed frequency.
Speed frequency, you have to select whether you're magnetic or gear driven.
And then either AP1 or AP2 for the temperature type.
And then for the temperature type, you have to select whether you're the AP1 or the AP2 cluster. And
the speed rating already comes for it set up with 205, 50, 15 tires.
So the setup in the converter is already set up for 205, 50, 15 tire size, and that's what he's running on the car, so that kind of works out. It's pretty straightforward, and then you pretty much write into the device the whatever. That's it.
That's it.
Really?
Yeah. So try it.
So you're telling me you bought a whole laptop for that?
Yep. To press one button.
Just to press one button, select 3 different information regarding what cluster you have and what speed, gear, whatever is reading your speed sensor, and then press right device.
Nope.
Wow. So we ready to do this or what? That's a small as little box that costs fucking an arm.
The only other adjustment is that thing. That's your fuel adjustment.
So how the hell you adjust that?
With the screwdriver.
But how do you adjust that?
I assume you plug it in and then hopefully have a full tank and set it to full tank.
Oh, okay.
I filled it before I came here. So.
Okay, so now he's on a full tank, and that knob in the back is to adjust the digital gauge on the cluster to wherever his tank is at. So it's probably your best bet to fill it up completely and then adjust that little knob to full tank. So the temp should already be reading it if your car is warm. Was it reading before?
No.
Your temp? Like it was on 0?
Yeah.
So where is it at right now? I can't really see it.
It's like
a lot
quarter.
A lot more than before?
Yeah, before it was only like
Okay,
1.
So
it
now
wasn't
we
even
have to
reading.
adjust the fuel?
Yeah, the fuel is like under half. A small screwdriver.
So you're full tank now, and now you got to adjust that knob until the digital reads full tank?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything that small. It's a Phillips or is it a flathead?
Flathead.
What about like a razor blade or something?
Yeah, that would work.
Clockwise and counterclockwise? Is it going? We know that's for sure. Alright, so after adjusting that little knob, it's finally calibrated to full tank. His temperature is reading under half, probably about a quarter, and those are definitely working. And now we're about to go drive it and hope the speedo works. And you need to adjust your clock too, and your car is lying because you don't have 92,000 miles on your car. Does your light work? Your left light?
Oh no.
No? It doesn't work?
The fucking
Fuck it, we'll drive it. We'll night jack it right now. Come back and we'll fix it.
drive around the block.
Let's do this. Oh, this is gonna be nice. Must be nice to see digital gauges. Doesn't read reverse, so what we should at least be going 1 mile an hour. Oh, oh, oh shit! It's reading.
There's a little bit of it.
Oh shit! Are we really going that fast though? I feel like we're doing 30.
It works.
Feel like 15 miles an hour, dude?
I don't think so. We might have to calibrate that.
How do you calibrate it?
That street?
No, go
Wraps
over
around.
to-
I think it's a little bit off.
Yeah, there's a little section on the instructions on about whether it's off like 5 miles an hour or whatever, and there's a calibration.
There's like a whole formula.
Yeah. Fuck that. That's complicated.
Fuck it, it works.
Gas works, speedo works, temperature works. I think we're golden.
That's all that matters.
So we're gonna do some circuiting next year.
We'll see.
I'm really planning it out.
That's definitely not 20, I don't think.
I think you're off for like a few miles on the cluster more than the
Like
speed
too
you're
much,
going.
huh?
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2.
But we won't know it though, so we don't even know how we're supposed to calibrate it.
I know.
The only way is to find like a newer car or another car and pace it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do 65, do 35, and then
See what it's at.
yeah, tailgate it and see where it's at. But right now,
It
the
works.
Ktuned Converter box work, speedo works, gas, and temperature.